Welcome to the Hustle or Bust podcast powered by Paver Art. Our mission is simple: to dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, small business, and all the success, struggle, and challenges that need to be confronted in the pursuit of growth. We celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit, but perhaps most important, we want you to learn at least one idea that you can put into action immediately to make your investment in time worthwhile. On this episode, we confront a topic we are all familiar with: customer service. More specifically, a couple of illuminating experiences that made us think about building or destroying lifetime value. Too many businesses fall into the later camp, and that's frightening for business owners. We'll give you a hint. Nice guys finish first. Drop us a line. Let us know what you think. We genuinely love your feedback. Near and dear to both Mark and my hearts. And by the way, he's Mark Oliveto. My name is Mike Bull. And customer service is just one of those things that I think we do pretty well at, number one. But
as Paver Art, you mean?
As Paver Art. But I think in our previous business lives, I think we did pretty well at that too. But you don't just fall into it. You have to practice your craft. But today, as a couple of examples, we've got two stories. Mark's got one, and I've got one, and we're going to talk about how customer service relates to those two stories. Now, I loved your story. Your story was really, really good. Why don't you give us a little bit of background?
Let me dive in. But as you were talking, a question came to mind. Let me get your thoughts.
Sure.
If you were to give America a score on customer service, 1 to 10, 10 being fantastic, 0 being terrible, or you couldn't be any worse, across all of the economy, from restaurants to supermarkets to anything that airlines, anything that requires customer service, where does America? How would you score them?
About a 4.
4.
Yeah. So
well below. That's an E in school, a failure.
Yeah, that's not even. That's not even average.
Yeah.
You see this in virtually every walk of life now, and I don't know why that is, but I think the problem with that is that after a while, people come to expect bad customer service or questionable customer service or below average customer service, and when you come to expect those kinds of things, that's not good.
So we're conditioned to crappy service.
Conditioned is the proper term.
Yeah.
And you've got to, once you fall into that, it permeates everything.
Yep.
It permeates your family. It permeates the way you start treating people. That's a really interesting question. Now, again, it's just my opinion, and maybe it's, I don't travel the world, so I don't know what customer service is like in Italy. I don't know actually I do know what customer service is like in Italy, and I have a pretty good idea what it's like in Great Britain and Canada. But it's in the States, maybe it was COVID. I don't know the reasons for it, but the short answer to your question is a 4.
Mine would have been low too. I would have been a 6 for a 60% D-, passing but below average. But you're right. I think if we ask 100 people, we're not going to get 8s or 9s in America for customer service for general service-oriented businesses.
Exactly.
It's a problem. So it's also an opportunity, I would think, if you get it right.
The two stories we're going to relate to today are, one's in the restaurant industry and the other one's in the industrial supply house industry, if you will. So,
well, let's go through the world of food, which I think everybody can relate to. Everyone, to different degrees, spends money going outside and grabbing a bite to eat.
Everybody goes to a restaurant.
It could be a diner, it could be fine dining, it could be a pizzeria, it could be takeout, whatever it is. They encounter the world of service, right? Now, Kim and I, my family has always been, we probably go on less vacations. There's multiple years we haven't gone on any vacations. So we've always spent a significant amount of money, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, going out to dinner. We're going out to breakfast on a Saturday morning. So we've spent a fair amount of money on food. That's how we we get enjoyment out of that micro 2-hour experience. So, I've lived in suburbs of Chicago, 2 different places. I've lived in Boston. I lived in Enfield, Connecticut, Cincinnati, Ohio, Clifton, New Jersey, Fanwood, New Jersey, Memphis, Tennessee. So we've got a decent representation, not deep, but in multiple different spots where we've understood service and food. Now,
let's not forget you've traveled the country
during business, right?
Yeah.
I would say the deepest food scene that we've been involved in, well, I think Chicago's got the best restaurants in the country, bar none. I think New York is the most overrated, and a little bit of side topic, but New Jersey, particularly northern Jersey, I'll get debate from my southern New Jersey friends down here at Paver Art,
Sure.
has got the deepest, the breadth and depth of restaurants, particularly Italian. Great pizzerias on every single corner, bagel shops, diners, you name it. You can get great food within wherever you live. Here's the example of Kim and I. We look at, and I wrote a blog post about this 10 years ago. When we were in Clifton, pre-kids, we just had Hope. We went out every Saturday morning for breakfast. 52 weeks a year, we went out to breakfast.
Sure.
And we had a diner on every corner. We could have gone to any of them. And quite frankly, all the diners are good in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
We went to one for 80% of them. So if you start adding up the dollars that we went to, it was a TikTok diner in Clifton, New Jersey. Now, why did we go to that diner? Well, very simple. We developed a relationship with the waitress who knew us. We knew her by name. She knew us by name. And when we had Hope, she was 8 weeks premature. We were in a NICU for 8 weeks. And then when we got home, we didn't go out for 3 months. We wanted to get Hope to a certain level of immunity, I guess.
Sure.
And then what was the first place that we went to? TikTok diner for breakfast. When we went in, our girl, our server, was so excited. She met Hope. She's holding Hope. She couldn't be more happier, as if she was part of the family.
Right.
She gives Kim back Hope after she was done holding her. She runs outside. We're like, what the heck's going on here? She comes back in with a gift, a little baby outfit that she went and bought Hope. Now, this is a server that we met just through the course of a couple years going to the restaurant, and we developed a relationship with her. Now, but I'm thinking about my dollars. 80% of them are going to the TikTok diner. She runs in with the outfit. And I'm thinking, now it was genuine. We weren't giving it because she was just friendly to us. We just developed a relationship with her. But she was better than all the other waitresses. Now, were we biased? Probably, because of the relationship we formed. But that service, all the other waitresses or servers, nowhere near as good. They didn't look you in the eye. They didn't do the basics. And then we went to all the other diners, and they were all generally about the same. So to your point on being a for America, on the customer service scale, that's kind of what we experienced. Serviceable, we wouldn't not go, but nothing that really stood out. The one that stood out, lo and behold, we gave 85% of our money to. Now,
Sure.
that's loyalty, in my opinion. All right, so the other thing, let me give you my Italian food snobbery, right? So when you're like me, growing up 100% Italian, or now I find out 80% through Ancestry.com, you've got an eye or a sniffer for good Italian food, right? Mm-hmm. For people like me, Olive Garden. What do you think of when you think of Olive Garden? Because you got some Italian blood in you too.
I'll be nice. Creamy pasta sauce and chain.
Chain.
Yeah.
That's the first line of demarcation. Yeah. Generally, I'm not a fan of chains. If I can avoid a chain, I'll go to a mom and pop over a chain.
The risk of being a snob.
At the risk of
I'm definitely not. I'm not a foodie, but I know what I like.
Oh, I got no problem saying, look, in this area, I'm a food snob. So the OG, the Olive Garden, is like a slice of hell for Italians. I mean, you've got to pay me to go to the OG, especially in New Jersey. And it's different if I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, who can't spell Italian, or Italian, as they call it. The OG is a slice of hell in New Jersey. Why would you go to the OG when you can go to Luigi's or Mario's or whatever Italian restaurant there is? Now, 3 weeks ago, I'm staying at the hotel locally because I've got an 82-mile commute, and I don't feel like driving. I park my car in a hotel, and right across the street, guess what there is? There's the OG. And I'm like, holy shit, do I have to go there? And I'm stumbling, so I'm like, all right, let me just go sit at the bar. So I sit at the bar, and I sit down, and Alan comes, the bartender, he comes to serve me. Alan was off the charts. If there's a 12 in customer service, this is Alan. His smile is going to knock off his ears because he's going ear to ear with the smile. He's talking about all the different things that the OG does, from the salad to the breadsticks. And I'm like, all right, Alan, enough with the food. You don't got to sell me on the OG's food. I know what the OG is. But then we start striking up a conversation. He asked me, what do I do? Am I here on business? Am I local? No, I own a business down the road, Paver Art. You ever hear of it? He goes, oh, what's Paver Art do? We get into this long discussion about Paver Art. So I'm like, where do you live, Alan? 2 miles up the road. We get into this discussion about Alan's role as a bartender, who he's been there for 10 years at the OG. Now I'm intrigued. All right.
10 years.
10 years, and he's lived through COVID. So I start asking him about COVID and how is that compared to pre-COVID versus COVID. We get into this long conversation, And what I noticed about Alan is the smile never left his face. This is not an act. This is Alan. He's just wired for customer service. And I'm 15 minutes in, and by the way, I had a glass and a half of wine. They've got the small glass, the bottle, or in the middle, they've got a glass and a half, which is kind of unique. Of course, I buy the glass and a half. I wouldn't be a wino and get the full glass when I got to be at work the next day. So we start talking, and I think I got the soup and salad and bread. It was underwhelming, as I thought the OG would be. But I'm leaving there, and I stumble out the door, and I'm walking back to the hotel across the street. I'm thinking, boy, for the OG, that wasn't really a slice of hell like I thought it would be. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't the food that I was evaluating on. It was Alan. All right. So now fast forward 3 weeks, and Dominic and I are now coming here, and we're staying 3 consecutive nights. So we got a couple nights at the hotel, and there's the OG across the street. I said, all right, Dom, you know what? I want you to meet Alan. He might be in there. Alan's an interesting guy. I want your take.
So you're going back to the Olive Garden the second time, the same Olive Garden that's across the street, when in fact
that's
within
exactly right.
a mile of where you're staying, there's 8 restaurants or pizza and sub shops that. Oh,
now Alan's not Superman because I'm still I'm FaceTiming with Mom,
right?
And I got the thing on. So Dom and I got the selfie, and we're like both depressed, and we show the Olive Garden sign. So Alan's not a Superman where he can take my food snobbery off. But we did go back to the Olive Garden, so we sit in the bar area, and I'm looking. We're not at the bar. We're in a bar area booth, whatever. And I'm looking around. Is Alan here? There's nobody there. And then Alan pops out from the back door, a smile on his face, and he comes over. And I'm not going to say anything to Dom. So Alan takes our order. And
so you got Alan a second time.
We got Alan a second time because that's he's managing the bar area. So he's starting to do his thing. I got the glass and a half of wine again. Dom orders. We got toasted raviolis, which are a slice of hell. And then we got, what did you get? Lasagna? I got lasagna.
Meatball and
spaghetti meatballs.
Yeah.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, it's Dominic Oliveto that he's referring to, our producer.
Right. So now spaghetti and meatballs, the only reason why I remember, because next week at the OG, there's an all-you-can-eat pasta. So Dom, that spaghetti and meatball dish that you got, which is only $9.99, you can get unlimited next week. So you got 3 meatballs today. If you want it, you can get 15 meatballs next week, all for the same price. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, boy, Alan's, all right, so it's a deal, right? It's a promo. But I'm thinking, we got to get back for that all-you-can-eat meatball thing. So once again, I'm thinking, Alan's unbelievable. So Alan introduces himself to Dom, and we start talking, all 3 of us. And maybe it was 3 months that I've been there. Right?
Gotcha.
So Alan goes, you look familiar. Have we talked before? And he noticed our shirts. We got the Paver Art shirts on.
Right.
He goes, oh, we met a few months ago, didn't we? Yeah, we did. This is my son Dominic, and he's on the shirt. So he goes, oh, it's great to meet you, Dominic. This is great that you're here. And he's just going smile ear to ear. I'm like, all right, this is now a repeat performance that Alan has. And I say performance in the positive sense. This guy is really, the smile is going to blow off his ears. I mean, genuine service. I'm like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, was this guy born this way? He's got 10 years, so he's not putting on an act. This is him.
Sure.
I'm thinking, how many other people are like me that have come into contact with Alan that are coming back despite all their bias like I have, and they're showing up despite all of this, all the reasons not to that we build into ourselves. This guy's got to be driving sales for the OG. Wouldn't you think?
I would think so. Now, it's just what's interesting to me, and I think the point to be made here is the fact that he so impressed you the first time that you wanted to make sure that your son got an opportunity to meet this guy. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's safe to say, too, that you're probably going to go back a third time.
Well, you brought up a point when you were talking about the America's score of a 4 that you gave it, right? That it rubs off on all the people that they come in contact with for the day.
Sure.
I'm leaving the OG now for the second time. Dominic had his spaghetti and meatballs. I had my crappy lasagna. That I could have got better lasagna anywhere. But I felt pretty damn good. I'm leaving there. I'm like, Alan is something. I mean, this guy is, number one, he looked like he was genuinely having a good time.
Sure.
He enjoyed being around us. This guy was made for that position. And he has done a hell of a job for the OG, right? So now I'm thinking about, as a business owner for Olive Garden, wouldn't it be nice to know how many people have my opinion of the people that come in contact with Alan, right? Or the waitress at the TikTok diner that we knew. And I'm doing the math in my head because that's what I do when I'm on the road for 82 miles. If we're not the only people that Alan has touched, or the lady at the TikTok diner, But if we are given 70% of our food dollars and we go out twice a week, and I'm doing the math in my head, and you've got that special of a waitress or Alan, this starts to become, as a business owner, if you can recognize that, they become worth multiples of what they're currently getting paid, which is the idea here, right? Now, they're the exception, too, because you gave it a 4, I gave it a 6 for America in general.
Sure.
But it tells you, in a world of New Jersey where there's great restaurants everywhere, I'm going to the OG, and I hate the OG, and I went there anyway. That's what great service does. So, I mean, that's my world of food, and I think we can all relate to restaurants. And whether you go out twice a week or once a month or once every 3 months, doesn't matter.
Sure.
We can all relate to in a world like New Jersey where you can get great options anywhere, I think service does become the differentiator for your experience and where you ultimately choose to go if you're familiar with the area. If you're not familiar with the area, you're going to kind of go into marketing things, what kind of food, those types of things. But once you're ingrained in an area, you're going to make your choice on, that's my restaurant right there. It becomes personal to you.
It's very easy when you're talking about a restaurant. It's very easy to make your decision. Restaurants provide two things. They provide food and the service to get you that food. And service can be defined by all sorts of, how quickly the food gets out to you, the attitude of the person that's serving you, there's so many avenues under which they're pleasant looking, they're dressed properly, they're neat. That's all that gets wrapped up in customer service. But you're only providing two things: food and service.
Right.
Okay. And in this particular case, in your restaurant critic opinion, the Olive Garden is not your cup of tea, as a general rule.
Right.
But it was convenient in this particular case. It had been a long day. It's right across the street. You don't have to go look for something. And the idea here is that you've got what overwhelmed your preconceived notion, well founded by the way, of the food you were going to get. What overwhelmed that was the service that you got. It was so pleasurable. It made your evening pleasurable, and that's essentially what you're going out to dinner for.
Right.
Okay. You want to have a nice evening, and you and I'm not so sure that we're the best judges here, because you and I are extroverts by anybody's measure. And I go to a restaurant, I'm chatting up the waiter. I'm telling the waiter my name, or the waitress
Right.
my name, and I want to know their name.
Right.
Okay. And you say little silly, stupid, witty things. My wife just looks at me and she shakes her head.
You're trying to. It's a performance for you too.
It is, but that's part of the experience for me. And a waiter or waitress that comes across and kind of plays the little game with me, that's, that, and my wife knows that that's going to translate into the difference between a 20% tip
And something greater.
and a 25% tip,
Right.
or more. Or depending on the quality of service, 15%. They're always going to get tipped by me. I don't care how bad they are. They're always going to get a tip.
Well, I think maybe why America gets a 4 or a 6, depending on who's the score. Maybe some people are higher, maybe some people are even lower. Don't know. There's this concept of lifetime value. So there's a transaction, which is when you go buy something, and that's it. You'll never see the person again or the business again.
Right.
Or lifetime value, which is that's the holy grail of business. Lifetime value is, all right, Bull, you're going to go. You live in Delaware. You're going to live in Delaware for, let's say, 35 years, and you're going to spend, let's make up a number, $20,000 on your restaurant meals over that time period.
Sure.
And of that, what for Luigi's or the Olive Garden or whatever the restaurant is, what is the lifetime value? Well, your maximum spend is $20,000. One restaurant's not going to get all of it.
Right.
But could one restaurant get $10,000 of that 20?
Very possible.
Very possible, right? So the restaurants that treat you as a transaction, get you in, get you out, turn the table, or that treat you like, all right, this guy's going to be here for 30 years, 20 years, or even 2 years. Let's have a relationship with that person. Those are two different mindsets.
Exactly.
And I think most businesses in America, they treat things, we see it all the time with Pay for Art. Things are a transaction. We got to buy X, Y, and Z, and we're in and we're out, and we get treated like we're a transaction
Right.
versus somebody that's been in business for 20 years. and that might be in business for another 30 years, right?
Exactly.
So, anyways, maybe we use that as a bridge to go into your story, your experience of your recent supply experience. Talk about that.
Well, and this just happened recently, very recently. Last week, one of the fellows in one of the departments came in and said, "I'm really low on this particular product. I need material now. I've got about enough left for a week or two." Now, prior to COVID, that would have been not a problem. I call up the supplier, and by the way, to get this material, we deal with an industrial supply house.
What if we run out? What happens?
If we run out, the department shuts down.
The entire thing.
The entire department shuts down. Now, we could do other things,
But you don't get the product out the door.
but we're not
until
getting
you
the
get that
product
one
out the door.
Right.
And by the way, this particular product is the product that sells the product that's being made in that
It's our
department.
secret sauce.
It's our secret sauce. So forget for the moment the situation as to why I was told when I was told, okay? But regardless of that, I get on the phone, I go to our supplier, and I say, hey, we're in dire need. I need this material, and I always make it clear to whoever I'm dealing with, whatever the situation is. I'm very honest with them. I don't lie to them, and I don't pull any punches. I tell them, look, we need this material now. We need it quickly. Right from the get-go, the response was terse, and it was, he made it very clear that my problem was not
His problem.
Okay.
Was this the
And-
first time you dealt with him?
No. Okay. And it's not the first time I dealt with him
And
or
the
this
business?
company.
How long? What's the history?
Probably 3 years.
Okay, so not like a first-time customer. You got a 3-year track
Correct.
record.
But normally the call is, I need this material. When can I get it? Oh, we can get it for you in probably a week or two. And the unfriendly attitude you can put up with, because it's a short phone call. You're placing the order, just want to get it out of the way. You've got 19 other things
Move
that you got to move on to. In this particular case, and this wasn't a case of him catching me on a bad day. This conversation went on, and basically, the more it went on, the more terse he got, and I'm trying to, and you know me when I'm dealing with our suppliers. In fact, it's the joke around here is, I'm actually the vice president of sales and service
For Company X.
for company X, Y, and Z. That's it. Because, and it's just my nature, and I feel if I give, I should get back at least in equal amounts in return, and usually I do. Usually I do. In this particular case, I wasn't getting anything back in equal amounts.
Now, he was out of stock. Is that the issue?
He was out of stock, okay, and it's an industrial supply house. So there's two things. There's only two things that you can offer a client, okay? The material that's in stock and customer service that absolutely should be 100% over the top. You should be kissing my ass from the time I get you on the phone till the time I hang up. Pardon my way of putting that, but that's your job. And when he came back, he called me back and said, it's going to be 8 to 12 weeks before we can get you this product.
Now, how does that impact? If we're out of stock on that 8 to 12 weeks, we're in a position we got to call all our customers.
We've got to go into emergency mode, okay, and that's correct. We've got to call our customers. The impact on the business is that in that particular department,
We miss all our commitments on dates.
and business is way up.
Right.
Okay, this is the time when our customer service has to be sterling.
Right.
We got to answer the call. We got to get it out on time. It's got to be the same quality that it always has been, top quality product. But we've got to get it out the door.
So that has serious implications. One little product has massive implications.
Huge.
Towards 30 customers that we've committed to.
Huge. So, okay.
Well, I'm sure he had a little dose of empathy for you on that.
None. Absolutely zero. And again, this is, if you're going to take anything away from this story, it's the quote, he made it very clear that my problem wasn't his problem.
Right.
Okay. When in fact it is his problem. Okay. You assume that. That's what we do here at Paver Art. I'm going to control myself here because I get very angry when these things happen to me.
So he gave you nothing, and then what'd you do from there?
Completely and totally.
He said
zero.
8 to 10 weeks, so we're screwed.
Thank you very much. By the way, I placed the order.
Just to get it on the books.
To cover our butts. Mm-hmm. I placed the order. And believe me, it took. My mother would have killed me had she known I'd done that. Right. You did what?
Right.
The way that man treated you, you did what?
Right.
Yes, that's exactly what I did, because we're also running a business here. Mm-hmm. Cover your butt. Anyway, to make a long story short, actually, I'm not gonna make it short. I'm gonna go on a little bit here. I called the manufacturer of the product, and I got to tell you, the first person I talked to, the first person that got on the phone, and by the way, this is not a small company, big company for this particular product. The first person that got on the phone, right from the get-go, customer service personified, 110% effort, empathy. Yeah, they wanted to know my name immediately. First question they asked, can I get your name? And they didn't say, I need your name. Can I get your name, please? Yeah, okay. The reason, you know why they ask that? You know why that's
so they can
customer service 101? Because they're going to be referring to you by name during the rest of the call. Okay.
Dale Carnegie.
It's what, 50s. That's when that started.
Right.
Anyway, she in this particular case it was a young lady, and she couldn't have been sweeter on the phone. And she referred to me as Mr. Bull. Mr. Bull? And I wasn't going to get snarky because I'm in a bind here. Okay, I need to get from point A to point B very quickly. Right. Okay,
this was not the time to crack jokes.
I'm not here to chat her up. That's exactly right. So, at any rate, I outlined my problem very specifically. She says, "I understand. You're not unusual. This happens a lot, and I think I can help you. Can you give me 10 minutes to call around and see if I can't find somebody that's got this in stock for you?" She didn't say, go to our website,
right?
Go check out the.
She took responsibility.
Put your your zip code in, and check out the top 5 distributors that will be in your territory or in your area for our product, and have a nice day.
Right.
Okay. Well, no. She said, give me 10 minutes. I have a couple of ideas here, and I have a couple of suppliers that I think may very well be able to solve your problem. Because she's got at her fingertips, she knows what every supplier within a 20-mile radius of where we are,
so she was
what they stock, because they know what they're buying.
If you had a customer service seminar, she did everything textbook perfect.
What's your name? She's not the industrial supply house. She's the manufacturer.
And she doesn't know that she can solve the problem. She just thinks she can. She tells you that.
And how many calls like mine is she getting every day?
Right.
You'd never know.
So what she said, give her 10, 15 minutes?
You'd never know that she dealt with 20 other calls that day.
Right.
She treated me like I was the only one that day.
The only one that mattered.
The only one that mattered. My problem became her problem, and she did everything in her power to fix it. And number one, what's the value? What's the asset value in that for this particular manufacturer? This particular manufacturer makes a product that we've used for at least 3 years now, maybe actually 4, going on 4 years. And we're the only ones in the industry that use it. It's a really well-made product, but it's not the only one. But I can tell you right now, if you came to me one day and said, Mike, we need to take a look at the supply of this particular product. Let's see if we can't get 2 or 3 more. Let's keep our options open. I'm going to look you right in the eye. I'm going to say no. Why? We can take a look at it and see what the price differential is between their product and their competitor is to satisfy our curiosity. Yes, and of course I would never say no. But the bottom line is the prejudice is always going to be towards this company.
She's locked you in now.
Amen.
So what happened? She said, give me 10, 15 minutes?
She said, give me 10, 15 minutes.
So you hang up the phone.
She calls me back in less than 15 minutes and says, Mr. Bull, I found a supplier that has 200 units of what you're looking for in stock. and they've got your name, they've got your company name. All you have to do is call them, give them the confirmation for how many units of this product you want, and you can go get it. As between there, and she gave me the hours, gave me the person to talk to. This is the manufacturer, okay? This is like, well, I was going to say it's like going to Ford and saying, look, I want to buy an F-150.
Right.
Going to the head office in Detroit, I want to get an F-150. Can you give me a recommendation? Right. This is just very unheard of. Anyway.
So then what did you do after you got that info?
I immediately got on the phone and to confirm all of this, and I called this other supply house, which is in another state but close to us. For people who don't know exactly where we are, I can be in
3 states.
I can be in Pennsylvania in 30 minutes. I can be in Delaware in 35 minutes. I can be in New York in an hour and 45 minutes. That's where we are in New Jersey. I called them up. First person I get on the phone. I said, I need this particular product. And I gave him my name. Oh yes, Mr. Bull. We're expecting your call. We were told by so and so at the manufacturer that you were going to give us a call. How can I help you? How many units are you going to need? And I told her, and she said, yep, got them in stock. When would you like to come and get them? Here's our hours. And I said, well, I'd like to come tomorrow morning if I could. When do you guys get started? We start at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Really? You start at 6:30 a.m. So somebody's going to be? No, not somebody. Everybody's here at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Okay? The whole crew, the truck drivers, the people in the warehouse, the people in the office, we're all here.
Yep.
It's not one guy or two guys. And, you're hoping you're catching them on a good day.
So they get the industrial supply world that starts early.
That's exactly right. And by the way, guess who's all around them? They've got a Grainger right across the street.
Who does the same type of thing.
They got a Fastenal 3 doors down. Okay? These are competitors.
Right.
They know what it's like. Now, it's one thing to get somebody who understands that they've got competition and they've got to be, these people were genuine. And they were genuine, and they do this every day. So I told them what it was, and by the way, I told them, I said, listen, can I pay for this with a credit card? Of course you can. Just we'll get you loaded up. We'll get your credit card information.
This is all on the phone.
This is all on the phone. And
so now you're feeling pretty good on the phone, but you haven't yet gone there.
You were in a meeting with a couple of guys. I immediately interrupted the meeting. Score. We have scored.
Elation.
Okay? Wait till I tell you this story. Okay? So next morning I went. I show up. I go in the front door. You must be Mr. Bull. How did you know I am? Well, we were expecting you early because you asked us how soon and you said you were going to be here about 7 o'clock, 7:15.
The surprise continues.
Yeah, exactly. Processed my order immediately. And she said, listen.
Did they have the Allen smile on their face?
There wasn't any of that. You could tell in the office. First of all, the office was filled with people, okay? This industrial supply house, square footage-wise, was no bigger than our place here.
Right.
It's got scads of people. They're everywhere. And they're all wearing the same shirt. And they're all wearing the same, when you engage them, they say, good morning, how are you doing this morning? They all have a smile. Now, again, it sounds like they're a cult. They're not a cult, okay?
They're trained.
This is something yes. I think what's happened here is that in this particular company, you're expected to act like
it's a culture.
This is, you treat your customers not just with respect, but you treat them in a very friendly manner. Nice guys finish first.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
I go around back to go pick it up, and they're lining up all the trucks. I'm parked, and I don't know where to park my car. Truck driver gets out, comes up to me and says, "Sir, are you here to pick up something?" "Yes, I am." You can pull right over here. It's that way you're not in any of the way of any of the trucks. Everything's going to be fine. Just go in that door. The person that you need to speak to is behind a desk in there on your left. Thank you very much. Oh, no problem. Have a great day.
Right.
I'm like, I can't believe any of this. Who are these people? I go in. There, I can see the 3 cases of material that I need already on a hand truck, ready to bring out. I don't have to show anybody anything. They know who I am. They expected to see Mr. Bull to pick up those 3 cases. There they were. Guy comes out brings the hand truck out. He's chatting me up. We're talking, and we're not just talking about the weather. He says, "This is the first time I've seen you here. Is this your first time, using our company?" I said, "Absolutely." He says, "Well, I hope you use this again. We'd really, really like to have your business." What is this? What is going on here? He loads up my car.
You solve a massive problem for a business.
I solve a massive problem. And the idea here is when you have a problem, if you have an issue, those people that rise to the occasion to solve that problem and give you impeccable customer service, lifetime loyalty. But what they understand is that
you're a loyal guy.
Once this problem has been solved, now I can go on and solve the 9 other problems that are right behind it.
Right.
But I can't get to them. That's the way I'm wired. That's a bottleneck for me. I've got to get through that bottleneck before I can get to those 9 other issues.
Now, you do get the criticism from me as VP of Sales and Marketing for company X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I'm assuming you're heartbroken over not doing business with the previous company.
Story's not done. Okay. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't wait to make this phone call
to the old company that didn't solve the problem. Right.
And tell them, cancel my order. I can't wait. Now, maybe that's that's maybe the Abruzzi in me.
Right.
Okay.
So now that relationship's done.
You're going to have to go a long way to convince me to buy anything from them
and
ever again.
They're not going to shed a tear over that either, because that's part of their culture.
What's interesting about that is that if that's the way I'm sure they don't care.
Right.
I'm sure they don't care. You'd think someone along the chain of command, preferably the owners, or the private equity group, they don't care.
Well, those are 2 like businesses. The previous company you were doing business with and the new company.
Exactly the same.
They're in the same business, right?
It's exactly the same.
Was the price about the same?
Price was within $2.
The product was identical.
Yeah.
The price was identical. Isn't this about, to a lesser degree, being in stock, but service was a differentiating factor?
No question about it. The fact that it was in... Now, I go back to them the next time, and I hear, Mr. Bull, unfortunately, we've had a run on that product. I can't get it in here for about another 3 or 4 weeks. No problem. Place my order, because we're not going to have that issue again.
Right.
We're going to solve that problem here.
Right.
But, if they came back and said that to me, it's quite all right. Mm-hmm. And why would I do that? I would do that because I know I'm getting 100% from that company, what they can provide for me at that time.
You trust them now.
I trust them.
So and
trust is the ultimate word.
One transaction, a 3-year relationship goes up in smoke. We'll never give them another dime. And in one transaction, they've built up that amount of loyalty that quick, just because their approach to how they handled you.
How many thousands of dollars just got kicked to the curb because you've got one person, maybe, I know there's more because I've dealt with more than one person there, but this one particular person, and it's not a question of, you got to be nice to Mike. No, it's, come on.
Gotta be human.
I'm a hardcore veteran here. I've been doing this for a long time. And everybody has a bad day, but that's just unconscionable the way I was treated in that particular moment, and I'm not going to forever forget that.
So, but this is a borderline, in my opinion, it's a terrifying story for business owners. Mm-hmm. You've got a frontline worker at the previous company that treated you like crap, that didn't care. It was your problem, not his. Mm-hmm. And then 8 to 10 weeks, you go figure it out, even though you placed the order. Then you go on a quest to go solve the problem, and the manufacturer was fantastic. Mr. Bull calling you back in 10 minutes, solving a problem, giving your information. This was textbook perfection in customer service after you encountered the first problem.
Exactly.
From the manufacturer down to the local alternative distributor. But if you're a business owner...
And let's not forget the manufacturer.
The question is, for the previous supplier that has now lost you forever, your lifetime value went from thousands to 0 overnight. Mm-hmm. And by the way, they might not ever know it. You canceled the order. But do you think that was you were the unlucky one dealing with that? Or there's a slew of people that are having the same feeling?
Well, there's no question. This is not, like I said before, this company has a history of treating people like this. And
so,
when I say a history with us, Now,
look, I made a comment on a previous episode. For small businesses in America, at any given time, there's 2.5 to 3 million small businesses in America that are for sale. The owner might be 60 years old, 65, whatever they are, and they want to sell their business because they don't have sons or daughters. They can pass on. It's not an easy transition. They've worked their whole life in the business. Now they're trying to sell it. Most of them won't sell. Now let's say you've got these two businesses, the one that treated you like crap, that you'll never give another dollar to, and then this one. Which one's going to be able to be sold? I mean, this is simple.
Exactly.
I mean, this is just like common sense. Now, service, I think I think it is cultural. I think that tone has to start from the top at the senior manager or owner level. They've got to set a tone for how they expect that experience to go, or not. If they say or not, we're not going to define that. It could be anything. It could be like you had at the previous supplier,
sure,
or it could be like you had over here. The extra cost to do it the way that the manufacturer did it with you, and the second supplier that solved your problem. How much extra cost is that? What did they? If you think about it, to wire your organization to be like that fantastic service, they have to have a system to know their local suppliers, the manufacturer.
Right.
They've got to have a trained person, customer service, that is their priority to call around and figure out where the inventory is, and then to call you back. That's a body. It's a person. Over here, they had a person telling you no in 8 to 10 weeks. Maybe they're paying that person a little bit better. Maybe not. But it doesn't seem like it's massively more expensive for a business to orient your business like that with service.
The cost to imbue your organization with that over-the-top 100% customer service mindset pales. I do the math. It pales in comparison to what you lose by not getting the business.
Not having a lifetime value.
How many first-time clients call that company and just say, well, this is click.
Right.
I'm never calling him back.
Right.
We sell a product here that requires that we take time with each one of our clients.
Right.
It takes time. We service homeowners, landscape architects and engineers, professionals, distributors, municipalities, where you're dealing with purchasing agents, things of that nature. There's 5 or 6 different types of people that we deal with every day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. And you have to be able to talk to each and every one of them. Will I speak differently to a landscape architect than I will to a homeowner? Sure, because the homeowner needs to learn more. The landscape architect already has a pretty good idea of what we do.
Right.
So, I don't have to give him A and B. I just have to give him C and D, okay? And make sure he understands that and get him additional information when necessary. But a homeowner needs A, B, C, and D.
That's right.
And that takes more time, and you have to be patient.
Sure.
And patience is a big deal. It really is, especially when you've got something over here that's chirping in your ear, and something over here that needs to be done. This is the lifeblood of our organization. Okay, closing a sale for Paver Art can get involved. It takes time, but if you're patient, if you explain to them all that they need to know, you make suggestions, but you don't push. I'm not one to push. That's the difference between not pushing and closing.
Right.
Okay. I'll close all day long, but I'm trying to get the client going in the right direction so that at the end of the phone call, it was a pleasurable experience for them. We've got a product that most people have no idea what it is. They just look at it and say,
it's hard.
Goodness, that's beautiful.
Right.
Bill, I'm going to call this Paver Art outfit and see if I can't get more information on this. I'd love to have one of these pieces in our backyard patio. Marge, go right ahead. Let's go do that. I'll be on the call with you. And by the way, a little backstory. When we get that call, it's always, and this is not, I'm not being sexist here, it's always the woman that talks,
right,
and you can hear the guy in the background.
Right.
Ask him how thick the material is. My husband wants to know. It's funny, but my husband
it's a good question.
My husband wants to know how thick.
Marge, that's a great question.
That's exactly right. But the last thing these people want to hear, they don't want to hear, if one more person, and I'm one of them, here's the term supply chain issues,
Right.
I'm going to go postal.
That's going to go on for another 8 years. That has now been in every bad organization in America. They've imbued into their consciousness supply chain, COVID. And it's almost become a catch-all that everyone kind of accepts now, right? That where things used to be 2 weeks, it's now 16 weeks. So, and a lot of that is true. That's not an untrue thing.
No, it's
so a lot of that's
absolutely true. It's just that.
But it's made it's given the bad organizations a built-in excuse for bad service, I think.
And that came up on this call. The idea here is, when I have a problem, I want that salesperson to assume that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want them to be part of the solution to my problem. Okay. That goes for us too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's other things that you can do. The last thing you want to say is, well, I really can't do much for you. You know, the supply chain issues and COVID-19, that's you know, you have to understand that creates a problem for us. They don't want to hear your problems.
Right.
What they want to hear is, how soon can you get me this piece of material?
Right.
Because I want to be enjoying this more sooner than later.
Sure.
You know, and you want to try and capture that feeling. The feeling that they're getting about our product occurs instantaneously.
When they see it.
That's right. But as soon as they get off the phone call, and it's been a great phone call,
they might call you back 3 months later.
But they want you to, you know, you want them to continue to feel that way. At some point, it starts to dissipate because there's other things that they have to worry about. You know, they got to get plants, they've got to get, you know, furniture,
they got
whatever.
Find a contractor.
They got to find a contractor. But at the back of their minds, they're going, when this thing is done, I'm going to have this unbelievably beautiful compass rose in the backyard.
Nobody has it.
Patio, and nobody's got this. And that's the cherry on top of the sundae. And by the way, the rest of the sundae is pretty damn good. But that cherry, and that's what we are. But, you know, you can do things to keep those customers happy. And you can add to your customer service line. You give them constant updates, you know, regular updates. You know, Marge, this is Mike Bull from Paver. I just wanted to let you know your product's in process. We're going to be making it here shortly. Oh, that's wonderful. I completely forgot about that.
We'll send you the pictures.
When it's done, we're going to send you a picture, you know, the proof of completion. And 100% of the time, best idea you ever had, because this was your idea. The proof of completion photo. They love that because they know it's still going to be another couple of weeks before they get it, because that's taken right after we make it and assemble it, and right after it's been cleaned. So it's got to dry, it's got to get packaged. You know, depending on where you are, it might take 2 days, like a day or 2 days or 5 days or 6 days to get to you by truck. But it rejuvenates that fervor that they had when they originally found the product. Oh my God, there it is! It's done.
High. Right.
It's done. You know, and the other thing too. They get to see it. They get to see what it looks like before we even take the damn order.
Right.
We do a colorized line drawing, thanks to our producer, Dominic Oliveto, and his IT prowess. We can now take, and Brian McNulty and his line drawing capabilities and draftsman capabilities, we can send that to a client right away and get their approval. They can see what this thing is going to look like before they even get it. And then when they get it, it's live. This is the real thing, okay? And this is just part of the customer service capability that you offer these customers. This is what closes the deal.
Well, let's go into COVID a little bit. Because our business, we have a very defined, highly customized model of manufacturing. And we let people change colors. We let them change parts of the design.
Right.
We start from scratch at every single project.
At no extra price, or no extra cost.
We are the antithesis of a standard manufacturer that builds 12 items. They build inventory, and the inventory becomes their avenue to get things out the door quickly.
Gotcha.
We're the exact opposite. We let you change the blue to purple. We let you change the star to a half a moon. We do that from scratch on every single time. So by its very nature, it takes longer than buying a commodity that's the same across the board. That the sea of pavers, you can get one brand of paver, and you can get 10 other pavers that look almost identical. The naked eye is not going to tell the difference. Are there differences? Sure, there are differences. But there's a sea of pavers that are in a commodity world, all different prices. But a distributor will carry, 3 different brands typically? Right. Mm-hmm. And then a different distributor might carry 3 other brands. But there is a sea of commodities out there in the world of pavers. We're the exact opposite of that, because we're doing colors, we're doing shapes, we're doing things that people wouldn't dare to do on their own in the world of installing it. So we've got a very different model. If you want to install a patio today, you can go to your local landscape supply house, pick between an array of choices, and say, all right, let's go with this brand, this color, and they can have it at your house. Now, sometimes they've got lead times too that are now longer. We're the exact opposite. Ours is going to be custom made for you.
Correct.
So it's a different world, but we do get lumped into that world of, my patio's going in next week. How quick can you get this?
Sure.
So we've got to pull them out of the commodity world and get them into the space of design. So that's going to be longer inherently, and we got to kind of manage their expectation, because a lot of times speed does set an expectation for service. How good are you, right? Mm-hmm. We've got to build in the fact that we can't be lumped into, if your definition of great service is a week, then we're going to have a problem. Mm-hmm. And we got to set that expectation, kind of talk them through it. And it's not uncommon for us to deal with Marge in February 2 or 3 times, and then we don't hear from Marge until August, and now she needs it right now, right? So it's our. By the way, if that's the case, we didn't do our job on a sales standpoint.
Correct.
We've got to give her the education and say, look, if you want this on the books, continue to work with Bill, your husband, on what you want. If you want to get your order on the books by the time you do that project in August, it's no problem. Get your order now or within a few weeks, and then take the next 8 weeks to work on the design with us.
So
if she calls in August and now she's frustrated because we can't get it in a week, we didn't do our job. That's our fault, not Marge's.
That's a very good point.
And it happens, by the way.
Absolutely.
We're not perfect, so that happens.
That's one of the little subtleties in this business, that if you adhere to that, you're going to keep that customer happy. There's all sorts of ways that you can engage the customer and let them know, hey, we got your back.
How does America get above a 4 and get into the 7s? And
hire me.
Let's just say that the
hire
world,
Mark Alavito.
Let's just say
that's how they get above a 4.
Yeah, let's define America as the world of small business,
right? And
let's just say it's below 6.
Sure.
In general, hiring the right people that are wired that way. That's one of the keys. That's how you do it.
You know something? We've talked about him before. My cousin Greg. He works for a supply house, industrial supply house, and when you break down all the different components of customer service, he's got them all. Just impeccable knowledge of the product. You've got to have that. Mm-hmm. How can you provide service to someone if you can't answer all their questions? Mm-hmm. If you're probing needs, how can you answer? How can you counter and then answer issues in regards to those needs if you don't know your product? So he's really, really good at that. But he has a stable of contractors that rely on him. When they call him up, they know they can trust him to get whatever is necessary to get them satisfied. I mean, you can't beat that kind of customer service.
So Greg is servicing contractors.
Servicing contractors. Those contractors are going out on jobs. They need his product. That product needs to be, if it's not there, they know that he's going to expedite it and try to get it to them as quickly as possible. It's pretty simple. Now, it's not always that easy, but he also goes the extra mile. A lot of these contractors become his business friends, and in some cases, friends. Mm-hmm. He has relationships with all of these people, and the same goes for project managers that work for large general contractors. He goes to job sites. He measures out jobs himself and helps the guys out. He has created a market of business where, and by the way, this is a big deal as far as I'm concerned, because it happens with us too. Mm-hmm. Word of mouth advertising is obviously the most solid advertising there is. Forget paper, forget the internet, forget social media. If somebody tells you, you got to check this paver art stuff out. We get this all the time. somebody call, can because we asked the question, how did you find us? And we hope they say Facebook, Google, Instagram, or wherever whatever they found us on. But in many cases, it's, well, I have a good friend of mine who bought one of your products about 2 years ago, and they love it. And oh, by the way, they still love it.
Right.
And they said, give Mike Bull a call or give Mark Alavito a call over at PaverArt. They'll answer all the questions that you have.
Well, let me give you two examples because we serve the world of contractors too.
But to tie up the one loose end,
yep,
if I'm in Baltimore, which is where Greg's located, and I'm in that Baltimore-Washington corridor, and southwestern Delaware, I'm calling Greg. First of all, I know I'm going to get the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I can trust him because I've had a relationship with him business-wise for years and years and years and years. If I have a problem, I know it's going to become his problem, and he's going to do everything in his power to fix it. That's kind of what we experienced with these two different supply houses up here. But he understands that. Where did he learn that? I don't know. One of these days I'll ask him where he learned that. Maybe he learned it from he was mentored by some people early on 30 years ago when he got into the business, 35, 40 years ago when he got into the business. I don't know. But at this point, it doesn't matter. All I know is that's the guy I'm going to.
Right. Well, we service the world of contractors too, so Greg is obviously special. Let me give you two examples because we advertise, our name is out there. We'll get maybe once a month, we'll get a contractor. This happened 2 weeks ago. Contractor, it was either in Texas or Florida, emails us in through the website and says, hey, love your stuff. I want to start offering it to my clients. Great. We think this could be a great value add. Send me a price list. And then, boom, just like that. So I respond back, hey, thanks for reaching out. I know you're in the heart of your season.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But we've learned over the course of 20 years, if I just send you a price list, we'll never hear from you again. You're not going to be effective at selling it. So part of selling a product is the price. You need to know that. I understand it. But you got to have at least a 15-minute conversation. We got to learn a little bit about your business. Who are you selling? Residential, commercial?
That's the quid pro quo.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Now, for me, it's like, all right, if you can't take 15 minutes at 6 a.m. in the morning or 6 p.m. at night or on a Saturday, am I just going to send you a price list knowing that you're not going to be successful? So what I'll do is say, love it. Can't wait to talk to you. We can do it on Zoom. We can do it whenever it is convenient for you. 9 times out of 10, this is crazy, they'll never respond back. And now I can start chasing them. They want that price list. They want that A to B quick close. They want a transaction. They need to know that compass costs $10,000, $2,000. They need to know that, and then they think they're going to go light the world on fire. What we've learned is this is art. Price is important. Every price is important. They need to know what they're going to pay for it.
Sure.
But there's 75 other things that are important as well. And if we can't take the time to have that conversation with a contractor, and if the contractor can't engage us, they're not the right contractor for us. Now, quite frankly, this has taken me 4 years to understand. Don't send a price list. If they can't take 15 minutes, there's somebody else that will. I'll give you another example. Angelo Lido, great contractor, runs a great Brit. He's a craftsman. He's everything we want in a contractor. He's never asked for a price list, by the way. Now, like anybody, he needs to know what the things cost, how we do it. He's engaged in a conversation. I got a call on a Saturday morning. It was like 9 o'clock. I'm upstairs. I'm doing some financing stuff. I forgot what I was doing. I get a call. There's Angelo Lido. I'm like, Angelo's calling. Let me say hello. Hey, Angelo. And I hear dead silence on the other end, and then I hear 3 people laughing. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I told you he'd pick up the phone. And he was with the mayor of the local town. He was with the office manager of the local town. And Angelo, I told you, it was like a test. They were seeing if I would pick up the phone. And they get into this long conversation. And I'm like, this is great. On a Saturday morning, I'm getting a call from a guy that we know is a craftsman, that we know. He's a guy
right.
that... And he's a guy I consider a friend. I'd go have pizza with him at Frank Pepe's up in East Haven. And I'm like, this guy is great. I'll take whatever time we need to take with him. So it's not a matter of not giving the guy enough time or knowledge. We'll do what, if we got to spend 5 hours with Angelo, we will. Because we know that he can deliver and he's not after the transaction, right? He's a guy that I would trust to represent us anywhere within a 100-mile radius or however far he want to go. But if a guy's going to call in and ask for a price list and I'm not going to even be able to engage with him for 50, he's not our guy. It's a big world, the United States. There's 330 some odd million people. We don't have to do business with everybody, right? We've got to, especially if we're going to remove ourselves from the end client, we better pick those partners pretty carefully.
Angelo, I think he's the consummate reason why. I like to use the term he's infected people with the Paver-Art microbe.
Right.
Okay. All those people that are around him, he's told about us.
Right.
Oh, you got to check these guys out.
Right.
You got to check this product out. And oh, by the way, he's given us several very good sized orders.
Right.
And
we'll bust it for him. So if the town needs something, that doesn't mean we're going to prioritize. We're going to be fair to all customers.
Sure.
But part of getting great service is to give good service.
Right.
Right. So especially in a reciprocal business to business or orientation that we're in, where we're dealing with landscape architects, we're dealing with contracts, we're dealing with end users too. We run the gamut. But picking your partners as a business owner, I think, is pretty darn critical, because you can't spread yourself across the whole world. If you tried to handle every business relationship, you got to kind of be selective on who you want to do business with.
That's exactly right. And I can't say it enough. And I've said it 3 times before, and I'll say it 3 more times. Nice guys finish first. It's as simple as that. And I want somebody to make me feel like my problem is his problem.
Right.
It's pretty simple. And when you're talking about, and by the way, what we haven't touched on is negative selling.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about this yesterday. The negative selling I define as, for instance, let's say one of our pieces shows up at a client's a client's home or a job site, and a couple of pieces got busted in transit. Okay, for whatever reason,
right.
it happens infrequently, but it does happen. And the client calls up and says, "Oh man, I And by the way, this is a client that all along is just excited about getting something that they know nobody in their neighborhood has, and they just love the design. And by the way, they were instrumental in putting the piece together. It was their input. Mike, the brick on my house, it's kind of a combination of a little bit of red and some a little bit of yellow in there. What do you suggest for this?" They get involved in all parts of the,
which is what we love.
Oh, it's fantastic. It makes your day to have those kinds of calls. But when they receive the piece after they've gone through all of this positive reinforcement for weeks,
and something's cracked,
and they call you up, and you can just hear them on the other end of the phone. Because they don't know what to do. Well, we know exactly how to handle that. Their problem becomes our problem. Our problem, because of why that cracked, does not become their problem.
Right.
Okay? We're not going to burden them with, these trucking companies since COVID.
We got to put a claim in.
They're got to put a claim in. It might be 3 or 4 months before we get a response on that. We would never do that to a client under no circumstances whatsoever. So what do? We assume, look, we'll get you a piece out in 24 to 48 hours. We have that. Every piece that we manufacture, we have saved every file for 20 years. Okay. We have a massive hard drive as a result, but the bottom line, and now it's the cloud. But the bottom line is, we're going to get that customer happy again pretty darn quickly, and he's never going to hear, it was probably some fork truck jockey at some terminal,
right.
Just dropping that pallet down on the ground, it's too fast or too. No, he's not going to hear that. What he's going to hear is, we're going to get you whole again by shipping something out in 24 to 48 hours. And our guys in back are geared to do that. They will get those replacement pieces done. We can always find a corner of one of the cutting decks to cut this piece and get it out quickly as possible. Don't let that customer down.
Right.
His problem is now your problem, and
right.
assume that, and let him know, and he understand. Let him understand that we're going to fix you.
Look, I think empathy is one of those words, being able to walk in someone's shoes.
Sure.
They spend all this time with us perfecting their design. It becomes their creation, not just ours. We just do it.
Exactly.
We put the blue in, the red in, or whatever it is. We change the design. We do the drawings. You can't hang in there all the way through, have something go wrong, which life happens.
Sure.
It cracks. You can't screw that up. You've done all that work. Just make it whole. Make them not panic. get it to the top of the list and resolve the issue. I mean,
Perfect.
it's really what you got to
So
do.
right. You're
I mean,
so right. You're so right.
I mean, really, walking in someone's shoes is really that's kind of important. The empathy thing in the world of service.
Yeah, and what we look at who we deal with. By the way, there's no reason why you can't take that same approach with, design professionals like landscape architects, and engineers. I mean, these are very, very smart people. One of the things that I enjoy, and I know you do too, is when you're speaking with these people, whether it's by phone or by a Zoom call, they get what we do pretty quickly. They understand what's going on. They've got a background in some of this, or they have a feel for it. So when you talk to them, they get it right away.
Well, I think it's.
But what they appreciate is the fact that you're willing to take the time to give them all of that information.
Well,
how many times do I get on a phone call and I just won't stop talking?
Right.
Okay. And at the end of the phone call, the person that I'm speaking with will say, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. I didn't expect that it was going to be this involved.
You're validating your four.
Yeah,
they weren't expecting great service.
That's exact. Well, that's another discussion for another day. But you're right about that.
Look, I think gratitude and empathy. When that phone rings to your business, or they walk in the door, whatever your business is, if the first word that doesn't come to your mind is thank you, because if you didn't walk in that door, and if the economy hits the skids and they choose not to go to your place, they're going somewhere else, your business is at risk. So if you don't first think thank you for calling, then that's kind of the first thing. You better be grateful for every opportunity that you have coming in the door.
No question.
That first supply guy that you dealt with, that you've been doing business with for 3 years, clearly didn't have gratitude in his mind. He'll never get another dollar from us. That's the cold, brutal reality of business. The other place will get lifetime value from us now.
And I'll say this: I learned this from my first sales mentor. Oh my goodness, 40 plus years ago. I learned it from my cousin Greg. I learned it from several other people, and it just comes naturally. It's come naturally to me for a long time. Always thank the client for the order. Now,
or for the opportunity.
But it's one thing to say thanks. It's another thing to say, I just want to let you know I really, really appreciate this order. Thanks for taking the time to go over this with me. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah,
and it's sincere. It's not. People can tell when you're not sincere. Put the period at the end of that sales sentence, and just make sure that they go away from that experience with the last thing they heard from you was gratitude,
right?
And truly sincere gratitude. Very, very, very important.
Look, I asked the question here: how does America get better? I'll use a parent and old school father story with my son over there, Dominic, my daughter, my wife.
By the way, that's Dominic Oliveto,
the producer of the program. Plug number 3 for Dominic. In the world of iPhones, you're on that we can't break this iPhone habit. No. They're looking at it 24/7. There's nothing. A great little advice for people. Daughters, right? You got a 17-year-old daughter, let's say, and she's going out on her first date. Pay attention to how that guy treats the server. That'll be a tell for how they're going to treat you, right? Mm-hmm. If they're looking at the phone, not looking at you, and God forbid, my son is looking at that phone when that server comes to give him his lemonade, put that fucking phone down. Look them in the eye and say thank you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we've got to train these kids that human interaction. They are providing you for this 1 hour that we're out. Number one, they're working their ass off for generally low pay or not as high as it should be, right? Mm-hmm. The least we could do is give them some common decency and look them in the eye, right? Now, that's as a customer treating somebody in the service world. So maybe why we've got terrible service or a 4 or a 5 or a 6 in America is because we're treating them like that. So I think it's a two-way street, communication.
I couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right.
So we've got to behave the way we want to be treated, I think, the old golden rule thing. But in the world of iPhones, this isn't becoming easier. It's becoming harder. We've got to break the technology and look people in the eye, whether it's metaphorically through the phone or in the real world of, the service-oriented world.
It's part of there is much a part of your experience as the food you eat, the Compass Rose that you bought. They're as much a part of that experience as anybody else. How many times, how many projects have we gotten involved with where the people are, they're truly committed to getting the right piece from us.
Right.
And we don't even have to go there in regards to some of the memorial stuff that we made. These people,
they've lost a child.
They've lost a child. It just tears your heart out, and you've got to be, if it's possible, even more empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the end of the day, when you build that piece, there's that extra. That's extra special for us too. But you're right. You're absolutely right. That's why I ask everyone. My wife goes, "Here we go. Don't mind my husband." Can I get your name? What is your name? I've never seen you here before. Can I get your name?
It'd be interesting, the small business owners that are listening to the podcast. What would do they rate America a 4 or 5 or a 6, or were they a 9? If we have a different perspective out there from people listening,
I often wonder if geography's got something to do with it. I'm sure it does. I mean, there's
absolutely
probably 9 different things that contribute to this, and geography's part of it. Where we are, we're in the
hustle and bustle of the Northeast,
the Northeast and the Middle Atlantic states, and maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe coming out of COVID's got something to do with it. But and if you go to Nebraska, you go to a diner in Nebraska, this is never going to happen. I don't know.
The brutal reality for a small business owner is, who gives a shit? Is it because we're in Jersey, we're in the middle? You had a problem to solve, and it impacted our business, maybe in a massive way. Mm-hmm. The one company shot zeros on it, and you're never going to do business with them again. Right. The other company and the manufacturer they're associated with did fantastic. They've got our lifetime business unless something cataclysmic changes. So that's the reality. The one company screwed it up, and they're going to lose from that. And they're probably screwing up all day long with multiple customers. They're not going to sell that business, probably. Mm-hmm. Maybe they will, but not like this company over here. This is the one you want to buy. That's the valuable company. That's the one that's going to get our loyalty from here on out.
I think you wrapped up this discussion pretty well. That really does sum it up. And to all the Allens out there, thank you very much.
Great job for the Allens.
Great
and
job
what I need
for the
to
Allens.
do is I need to find a way to get to the senior manager at the OG mm-hmm. and tell him what I think about Allen. Because when's the last time Allen has had a customer go to his boss or his boss's boss and say, "You got a special guy here behind bar for you. And let me tell you my story. Don't know if I'm unique or not, but probably not. This guy is special." So if we want great service, we got to be able to do things like that to reward it in the world.
Don't be surprised if they come back to you and say, "Hey, is there any chance that you can give us a 5-star Google review?"
That would be painful. I would for service.
We were actually going to talk about that.
I am betraying my Italian heritage by talking about the OG in this light. Really, the cream sauce, and they put the calories on it too. They got 1,500 calories for chicken fettuccine Alfredo. I'm like, boy, I didn't like this, but this is all I need to see. I think I'll buy that. On that note, we should wrap this up.
We probably should.
Good discussion.
By the way, I hear the phone ringing. I think it's the chairman of the board of the Olive Garden. No, I'm just kidding. At any rate, well, great discussion today. I think it's something near and dear to our hearts, and to every extroverted salesperson in the world. It's a tremendous subject, and I love talking about it. So. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Till next time.
Till next time. We'll see you.